Hey guys, it's your buddy Isaac and welcome. Today we're going to be doing a reaction to Asmongold. Apparently people are going nuts because Meta changed their policy and they're going to do a lot less censorship. Like, I mentioned a little bit of this in one of my Let's Play videos. Personally, I want to make this very clear. I don't give a crap about politics, and I personally do not usually have any interest in it. Like, I am not even registered to vote. I don't really support or am anti to anybody particularly. I do like certain policies, but as far as like loyalty to anything like that, no. Nah. My loyalty is to my friends, to the people around me, to my direct community. As far as like anything beyond that, like I try to help people around me. I try to, I'd like to be able to help people in the greater world to an extent. But like my immediate family and friends are going to be my first major point. So let's
these open
whoa. Ah. Okay. Let's switch the audio to that real quick so we're not echoing. So this is by Asmongold TV, by the way. Zuck is crashing out. So let's see what craziness is going on.
To hate. Here are some of the horrible things that you can say.
Oh,
Meta
what horrible
now
stuff
lets
are they going to
users say women are household objects. Oh my god. Yeah, bro.
What? Hold on. Hold on. Who the frick is saying this? Who? I've heard way worse crap, but not that. And that was even before the policy change. What?
Oh, like there's an overcorrection.
Meta, the parent of Facebook and Instagram and Threads, has
I'm
ignited
ready. Explain this one
with
to me.
changes to its moderation policies. The new guidelines allows users to accuse LGBTQ individuals of mental illness, shocking many who once viewed Meta as an ally. This dramatic shift starkly contrasts with the platform's 2020.
Okay, I'm going to first off and say this very clear. If you think a company is your ally, regardless of your political ideas and spectrum, you're an idiot. Okay? No offense, but I'm going to be honest with you, you're an idiot. The only allegiance that any business has is to making money. That is it. Once it is no longer profitable to support you, they will drop your ass like a hotcake.
One ban of Donald Trump for inciting violence.
Meta was never on your side. Zuckerberg isn't. It's not like he nowadays.
Yeah.
It's not like he just randomly started doing jiu-jitsu and tanning and now he's a bro and he cares about the Constitution. He never cared about it. He doesn't care about it now. He cares about being congruent with what the leadership of the company wants him to do.
Violence.
He's a survivor.
January 6th Capitol
Or not even the leadership of the company, just whatever makes him the most money, whatever he believes is going to make him decent amount of money. And right now, Meta's, last I heard, Meta's running in the red. So I can't say that I blame him particularly, but we'll see how this goes.
Critics have called the move a dangerous rollback of protections for marginalized groups. Here's more on the about face by the social media giant.
Yeah.
We've got passion, we've got determination.
Come on. All right,
social
we're back.
media
Had to deal with
platforms
the ad.
bridge gaps and connect people
It's
worldwide.
crazy for me to see Instagram and not see it filled up with hoes. Like, why do you even have Instagram if that?
Why is that what everybody uses it for? Like, I don't use that for that. I'm finding like paranormal memes and stuff. That's what I use it for. If I even use it. at all. Oh, let's just call texting me. He's asking me, what are you up to? Like, doing a reaction video. That's what I'm up to.
That's not what you use it for. I can't even imagine that. Like, yeah,
Oh,
really. I mean, I don't get it.
However, they also serve as tools
Weird.
for hate, misinformation, and abuse.
Oh, here we go. Misinformation again.
And Meta's latest policy.
You know, I just gotta say this. Like, they're always complaining about misinformation, but the mainstream media, and I say this, like, the corporate media, are always talking about misinformation, but they're one of the biggest purveyors of misinformation out there. And the difference is between me or someone like Asmongold or just a rando on the internet is I don't purport to be an expert. I don't purport to be any kind of, you know, great bringer of news or information or a great knowledgeable person. And I don't spend millions of dollars on fact checkers and people who are supposed to make sure that I'm telling the truth and then still get it wrong. And still not get the full information out there or not actually tell the truth of what's going on. How the heck do you do that? How do you spend millions of dollars on people whose entire job is supposed to verify and check the facts on things before you disseminate it across the public, still get it wrong, and then have the gall to be like, oh no, all these people are spreading misinformation across the internet? Really?
Policy changes
Really?
have raised significant concerns, especially among the LGBTQ plus community and human rights groups.
Nice dress.
This Tuesday,
Back
Meta
in the day.
updated its moderation
Wow, look at
guidelines
that.
for Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. The changes now allow accusations of mental illness against LGBTQ plus individuals, specifically regarding their gender identity or sexual orientation.
Okay.
If that wasn't enough, Meta's revamped guidelines will now also tolerate terms like weird, address women to...
I mean, like, what is this hall monitor shit? Common, non-serious usage of the words weird? So you can say that being gay or being transgender is weird now? Oh my god.
It literally says common, non-serious usage. So, like, if you're joking about something and saying it looks weird, then it's fine. If you're being a jerk about it, no. Okay. That's fine.
like weird,
Wow.
address women to be household objects, and black people as farm equipment.
Again, who is making these insults? Not just in the, people shouldn't be calling folks like that, but it's like, who is making these insults? It sounds like an insult made by a 5-year-old. I kid you not. Like, half my family is black. I have heard way worse shit in terms of people being called, in terms of them being called way worse crap than that. Farm equipment? Really? If you want me to feel so threatened by this person relaxing their policies, at least give me something that's actually like a legitimate insult. Right? I don't care if you have to censor it out. At least give me something that sounds like it was actually said by a real human being.
Of course, just like many other times, Meta justified this move and cited political and religious discourse around homosexuality and transgenderism.
So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content.
Yep.
But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts.
Farm equipment is crazy. What's crazy is the fact that that's the abbreviated term that they use. I've been on the internet a long time. Like, that's not the full thing that they say.
To millions of people.
I would hope so.
We've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes.
Should they be saying it? Hell no. But, you know.
The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech.
Yep.
So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms.
Policy should be
adjustment has sparked outrage among advocacy groups, which accuse Meta of enabling hate speech.
Well, they are. They are enabling hate speech. That's absolutely what they're doing. But hate speech is protected under the First Amendment. That's the way it is.
I mean, it is.
And I think that the majority, I do think it's the majority of people, at least here in the US. I don't trust Facebook or Instagram or Twitter to tell me what the rules are for what I can and can't say. I didn't elect them. They're not accountable to me. These are companies that have no accountability, no loyalty, no sense of accountability to the American people at all. I do not want these fucking people telling me what I can and can't say.
Okay. I actually do agree a lot with Asman in that. Like, these companies aren't elected. But the thing that I worry about as a content creator, like I said, I don't care about the political side of things. I care about, as a content creator, the thing that I think of and the thing that I worry about is, yeah, they talk about hate speech and all this stuff, and they claim that that's what they're doing this for. But I'm not entirely convinced. Because even when Elon Musk bought Twitter, right, he proved and showed that these companies were paying Twitter under the table for verification marks and stuff like that. So I'm wondering, and the thing that I'm curious about is, are these companies using hate speech and misinformation and stuff like that as a shield to silence competitors or silence content creators who are critical of their stuff? Like, for example, there are a lot of people that are critical of Disney Star Wars. Is Disney paying YouTube or paying Facebook or paying a bunch of, hi kitty kitty, hey bud, paying a bunch of social media companies money under the table to demote or deplatform content creators because they're critical of their products? Because they're telling them that this movie is bad or this show is bad, right? Are there gaming companies literally paying these social media sites money to demote anybody critical of their game? Or promoting competitor games that they don't want to compete against? That's where I'm kind of sitting on it, right? Because being able to basically because that's where I'm kind of sitting there going like, yes, all of this stuff is really bad. No, people should not be able to sit there and say that. But at the same time, it's also the internet, right? If you say some really bad shit, everybody and their mother is going to dogpile you. And you're going to get ratioed to hell. There are way better systems than censoring people, right? Not only that, but human beings are very funny, curious creatures. If you tell us not to look down, we look down. You tell somebody that someone's ideas or their speech is super dangerous and now so you're going to censor it, the first thing people are going to do is go find out what that person's actually saying and what's so dangerous. So you, in your attempt to censor it and curtail it, you actually accidentally end up spreading it more.
That's it. I don't want them making these decisions.
Yeah.
It's a private company that can control anything you want. It's not about whether they can or not. Everybody knows that they can.
It's about whether
it's
they
about
should.
whether you think it's a good idea or not.
Whether they
Saying
should
something
be able to
can
do it.
happen. Yeah, of
Or
course
should
it
do it.
can happen. That's why you support TikTok over them. Well, I support all of them.
Yeah.
Because it's freedom of speech. That's it. Yeah, it's the First Amendment. It's that simple.
Without these necessary hate speech and other policies, Meta is giving the green light for people to target LGBTQ people, women, immigrants, and other marginalized groups with violence, vitriol, and dehumanizing narratives. With these changes, Meta is continuing to normalize anti-LGBTQ hatred for profit at the expense of its users and true freedom of expression.
No, that's not true freedom of expression. People can say anything positive they want. Like saying, I don't like this logic that people are using now, that because people can disagree with them, there's no longer freedom of expression. Well, it's like if you...
That's the whole point of freedom of expression, is people's ability to disagree with you. It's like these people don't know how to frickin' debate anything. Newsflash, people are going to disagree with you. It's like the idea that freedom of religion doesn't include freedom from it. It naturally does. Because in order for people to have genuine freedom of religion, they have to be free from someone imposing their religion upon them. Now, when it comes to freedom of speech means that people have the natural ability to disagree and verbally express that disagreement. Right? By censoring that speech, not only do you, as I said, you give these companies an in where they're able to take money and basically censor speech because now nobody's going to question it, which is why I look at that, which is how I look at this, right? Most people, when it comes to people who actually post hateful shit, are going to dogpile the crap out of them. And that person's going to be basically shoved out of the community. But the part that I've noticed and I've seen for years is literally companies using these same policies, especially things like YouTube, where it's like, oh, it's not advertiser friendly, to inadvertently dictate what people can and cannot create on YouTube. And they're not even, and it's not even something evil or hateful. It could just be, oh, well, we don't want thumbnails with X amount of cleavage on anime girls and then have a corporate sponsor or advertiser literally have
your
way
ideas can
spicier
only
material.
exist in an ecosystem where they can't be attacked, then I don't think that it's almost like, so in order to have freedom of expression, other people can't express themselves. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
Meta's overhaul extends beyond LGBTQ+ issues. The company has also scrapped policies prohibiting insults based on race, ethnicity, national origin, disability, and gender identity.
Yeah, big surprise.
I think that this is a bit politically motivated.
And then also, like, so there's another huge component about this that's like really big, is that when you have the politicians and the rhetoric in the country politically that is discussing these topics, and if you can't discuss these topics on social media loses its value. So because the culture has shifted a lot towards people being more accepting of, opinions that people would say would be discriminatory or hateful, if you can't platform different politicians that are saying that stuff, well, here's what's going to really happen. Those politicians are going to get together and they're going to make a law and they're going to destroy your company. That's what's going to happen. Because now that they're in control, if you start banning all of them, they're just going to remove your Section 230 and destroy your entire company overnight. And do you think Trump would do that? Absolutely, he would do that. And you know what he probably would do? He probably wouldn't do it. He'd just say he was going to do it, massively tank their stock, and then not even do it in the first place.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But the funniest thing too, right, is I don't think that these companies ever thought the idea that see, this is why I'm going to be 100% honest. Politics and business don't work to each other, okay? Because if you overtly put all your eggs into one basket and overtly serve one side of the political aisle, and that side loses power, you may be screwed. And as far as the Trump thing, oh yeah, I totally imagine that he's going to do that crap. Personally, as a content creator, I kind of want him to, because if it is, but only if it's like what he claims he's going to do, where he's going to require them to be neutral in order to get their Section 230 protections. If it's true strict neutrality, I'm all for it. Plain and simple, right? Anything to level the playing field, to make it so that corporations and stuff like that have to compete on the same level as independent content creators. Because I don't know how many of you guys remember this Wayback Machine. I do. Where you had PewDiePie versus T-Series. And this is something that especially kind of woke me up to the idea of companies basically paying social media under the table to boost their platforms and demote others. If you guys remember that, PewDiePie had literally people spending money taking out ads in Times Square. Right? Everybody and their mother knew what was going on with PewDiePie and T-Series. Yet somehow T-Series won out, and part of that is because what people were talking about was there was reasonable anecdotes and people that were coming forward and saying that, yeah, YouTube is automatically subscribing anybody who is making an account in India to T-Series. And I guarantee you that just from my own experience, I've seen YouTube do stuff like unsubscribe people. I've even found myself, like my channel, subscribed to channels that I've never even heard of. Some of which aren't even in English. Right? It's like some of these channels aren't even in English, and somehow I'm getting subscribed to them out of nowhere. And it'll be people that are obscure that I've never even heard of. But somehow I'll be subscribed to them. That's a little weird.
But I also think that there has been a huge push worldwide for these changes to happen. The oversight board, for example, with Meta was an interesting experiment. And obviously, it's not going to continue in its current form, but there will be implications from it. And I think
after the major policy reforms, CEO Mark Zuckerberg also announced a major shift in fact-checking.
Yep, big surprise.
Zuckerberg explained Meta will replace its trusted organizational partners with a community-driven system similar to X's community notes.
Yeah.
First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes,
We already saw this
similar to X, starting in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system.
Yeah, we looked at this already.
Go ahead. We're back.
Meta's current stand contrasts sharply with its previous policies.
What a surprise.
In 2021, the company suspended President-elect Donald Trump's accounts on Facebook and Instagram for 24 hours and then extended the ban for 2 years.
Yeah, see, this is about, remember this? This is a real good time. And anyway, so the fact is that Meta and these companies are like nothing next to the government.
Yeah.
And this is why, you want to know why every single one of these companies, the biggest companies in the world, immediately cuck to China? Because China has a military. Meta doesn't have a military. That's it. Like, think about it, right? They can go and just take over the entire building, kill everybody in the building, and there's nothing that the company can do about it.
I don't think they'd go that far. Right. I do kind of understand where he's going. Like, oh, yeah, these companies are nothing to the government. And he's right to that point. But they're not going to send, like, their militaries to do it. If they wanted to take over these things or if they wanted to shut down these companies. Because the funny thing about governments is, A, they make the laws, but they also are the ones enforcing them too. And I remember this quote, you show me a person, I'll show you a criminal. And at least at some point in our lives, we will have violated some variation of law. And we may not even know it exists. We may not have any idea of what that law is or where it's from. But at any point in time that the government really wants to lock you up for something, they will drag it out and lock you up with it. And it's way worse with these companies. Okay? Most of these companies, yeah, the government knows that they're colluding with each other. The government knows that they're working with each other and they're doing this or that. They know that that's what's going on. They allow it because it's to their favor. Once it is no longer to the favor of the people in power, these companies are SOL. Right? Google already is in trouble with the DOJ for their search engine monopoly. And you already have President-elect Trump talking about going in and having the DOJ go after all of the social media companies for monopolies and collusion, both with each other and federal agents. Not only do I believe that Trump is petty enough to do that, I absolutely do believe he is petty enough to do that. But I guarantee you there's more than enough evidence in all of these agencies to prove that that is exactly what's going on. And I wouldn't be surprised. And I will admit, I think I have watched this before. I wouldn't be surprised either if Zuckerberg is doing all this almost like a plea bargain. Right? We'll see here.
That's it. These companies have no actual power over the government. The only power that they have is hopefully convincing greedy senators to act in their best interest.
I would actually say the senators will act in the senators' best interest, because a lot of these senators technically they're only supposed to be making $200,000 a year, but almost all of them are freaking multi-millionaires, because almost every single one of them conducts some form of insider trading to some degree, and this is a major conflict of interest. Hey, buddy. Where they know what regulations are going to be made, and so then they make their trades and their stock trades and everything based on how they feel that the vote's going to go, how they know the vote's going to go. So to that point, these people who are supposed to be making like literally little over a couple $100,000 are multi-millionaires with like $20-30 million, 3 houses, limousines, the works. I guarantee you, yeah, if they're gonna vote based on what makes them the most money. I think one of my favorite things too that might be an interesting idea if we ever could get it done. I don't think it'll ever happen, but it'd be hilarious if we made this meme an actual fact. Making senators and Congress, like making the members of Congress wear jackets like NASCAR drivers, where they have to have patches on them for every company that they take money from, just so that we know who's sponsoring them.
And then they say it's never going to happen. Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, that's real power. Like, these companies have money, the government has power.
Yeah. This action followed posts he made during the US Capitol riots, which were deemed a severe violation of Meta's rules. But with the latest policy changes,
can I just say I find it funny that when the media puts this on here, puts the J6 riots on, it's always the most violent thing ever, but then when you look on Twitter or everywhere else, it looks more like a weird freaking guided tour. Like, what happened is absolutely wrong and shouldn't have happened in the first place. But I mean, when you actually see like the internal videos and stuff, it's like the most polite bunch of rioters and insurrectionists ever. Just of the videos I've seen, I'm sure there's probably some much worse ones, but it's like all the videos I see on Twitter and stuff like that I catch occasionally on Twitter, because I don't do with politics on Twitter. I try not to. If I'm being honest, like, most of my Twitter feed is literally VTubers and no, that's pretty much it. VTubers. VTubers, webcomics. Like I said, I don't like politics. The only political person on there, I guess I could say, that I follow is technically Musk himself. That's it. Beyond that, I'm just like, and I'm only really interested in Musk's page for like what's going on with Tesla and SpaceX. That's it. Like, the political junk, I kind of just ignore or try to.
Posts may not likely see a ban on the account and would be corrected by community notes instead.
Yeah, which is a smart way to do it.
Yeah.
These recent developments
because that's
signal
actually
a
how you deal with bad ideas. You drag them out in the open and expose them for the bad ideas they are. Policies that once protected users
from hate and abuse now appear relaxed. For example, while the former US president faced consequences for inciting unrest, today's changes suggest greater leniency towards harmful speech. But who doesn't want to be friends with the president? It seems like Zuckerberg is doing everything to join Trump's inner circle, even if it means more hate speech online.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what's happening.
From meeting the president-elect at his Florida residence.
How did I frickin' call this. Of course he is, because Zuck's not stupid. Zuck's not dumb. He knows that Trump's gonna have a chip on his shoulder for the crap that they've done. He knows that. It's why I said it's like a plea bargain. He's hoping. I wouldn't be surprised if he's hoping that by getting buddy with Trump, that Trump won't use the DOJ to go after him quite as hard, right? Like, I'm sure he'll still have some consequences, but it won't be quite as bad. Because he's gonna potentially be turning over information to the DOJ and all of that, turning over like documents and all that mess to show how much cooperation his company and federal agencies and other companies have done. When it comes to this stuff, it's always the weakest link, man. Always that weakest link. Which is why it's just better as a business in general to just not do it. Just don't do it. Don't play politics. It always ends badly. Always. Like, you placate the boss man in the White House or whatever as much as you reasonably can to an extent, but you don't sit there and just give him everything he wants. Like, you do have to have at least some standard of behavior.
To the company donating
Absolutely.
$1 million for his second inauguration, the tech giant is doing everything to be in Trump's good books, including appointing hardcore Trump supporters to its board, like UFC CEO Dana White.
Yep.
Community Notes is a better system. I think it is
Meta's
too.
policy changes have
Usually,
profound
I think so, too.
implications
It's
for
run by the
online
community.
discourse.
It's not run by the company.
By allowing targeted accusations and
Hell, Community
removing
Notes,
protective
even on
guidelines,
Twitter, has
the
actually gone
platform
after
risks
Elon Musk
becoming
more
a
than a couple of
breeding ground
times.
for hate and misinformation.
It will be. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. For sure.
Once a champion of safeguarding speech, Meta now faces accusations of abandoning its responsibilities.
Yep.
And critics ask, how far will Zuckerberg go with his political agendas?
He doesn't have a political agenda. He has a financial agenda. And that
Yep.
agenda aligns with the people that are in power.
Yep.
So if you want Mark Zuckerberg to go back on these changes and apologize for them, elect a Democrat in 4 years. Problem solved.
Well, even just from a business perspective, right? Even when Biden was in office, Meta kept losing more and more money because they were having to censor more and more stuff, which drove people further and further away from their website. And when you're a business, you really don't want to be driving people away from your business, especially when you're a business whose entire freaking business model is based on people using your website and giving you information by posting stuff on it and doing stuff on it. So if you have more and more people not going, you lose more and more money. And that's kind of been sort of the thing that I've observed, is the Biden admin had been basically just demanding more and more censorship, which costs Zuckerberg more and more money, both in the people that he has to pay to censor all of that, but also in the user base that he's losing, which is losing him money. I think one of my favorite stories from a buddy of mine, Rollmaster, is he used to live in Japan and he was on television and they were asking him why Yuri and Yaoi stuff was becoming more and more accepted in Japan, because he was there apparently and they just wanted an external person's opinion because, he's a white guy. And he's like, well, personally, because of my studies here in Tokyo and so on and so forth, from what I can tell, the reason why it's becoming more and more accepted is because that it makes money. And if you follow the money, you'll find that if money starts increasing and flowing, you're going to find more and more acceptance socially of different things. Like civil rights and stuff like that usually tends to be followed by companies making more money by being tolerant of people of different minorities and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, minorities still buy shit. Right? They still have to buy toilet paper. They still have to buy food. They still have to pay rent. So, if they're not paying you rent, they're paying someone else rent. So it does you no service to be a bigoted jerk and cut yourself off from a source of revenue. It does you no service. Aside from the moral aspect, which, you know, morally, of course, you should never, ever, ever, ever treat somebody badly because of what they look like or their religious persuasion or what have you. But if you're talking about as a society and as businesses, yeah, it's always going to be money first. Always.
He'll immediately go back on it and change everything back to the way it was.
That had access to a large amount of people's information.
Lizard Boy's part of the crew now. He's trying
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies.
There it is. He's pretending. Well, no, it's not that he's pretending now and he wasn't pretending then.
He's always
been pretending now, and he was pretending then.
It was all pretend.
Called his own people dumb fucks for giving them their information in like 2010.
Yep.
He doesn't give a fuck about any of this stuff. He just wants to make money and run the company and have it be as popular as possible. He doesn't give a shit in the first place.
Gee, what did I just say 5 minutes ago? What did I just say about a minute ago? Yeah, that's exactly what's going on.
Society has a responsibility for changing corporations, not the other way around. I agree. And I think that to the extent that corporations try to change the government, they put themselves in an adversarial role against the government. And if you put yourself in an adversarial role against the government, don't be surprised if they retaliate. And that's what they're really afraid of. Especially because, and this is what the big problem is, these social media companies can only exist because of privileges that different, different laws give them. I think Section 230 is the best example of that, but there's a lot of other examples that exist as well. So all of these companies exist under these privileges. So if the government takes those privileges away, they effectively destroy the entire company. Yeah, we have to eliminate company political donations. It's killing America. Yeah, I agree with you too. I think that's absolutely true.
I would also say that we should probably get rid of like Congress's ability to actually trade stocks. Like, for example, I mean, shoot, if you become president of the United States, you're required to give up control of any businesses or stock trading that you have, right? Because it's considered a conflict of interest. And he's the head of the executive branch. Why the hell are we allowing the people who are supposed to be making our laws to trade stocks and bonds of companies that they are supposed to be making laws to regulate? They shouldn't be allowed to do that. Period. As long as you are a member of Congress, you should not be allowed to trade stock and bonds. You should not be allowed to do it. Because it's a direct conflict of interest. Because you're trading stocks and bonds of companies that you're supposed to be regulating. That you're supposed to be making laws to make sure that they are operating fairly and justly with the American people. Plain and simple. Right? So no, I don't think that they should be able to trade that stuff. That's just my thought process.
Much prefer him to be fake on my side than fake on their side. Well, I think that's the way a lot of people are feeling it. I'll look at some clips from the he did an interview with Mark Zuckerberg too about it, and we'll look at it. And here's the thing, is that he's right.
On that side, we just basically got to this point where there were these things that you just like couldn't say, which were mainstream discourse, right? So, you know, it's like Pete Hegseth is...
That's exactly right. Yeah, it is a mainstream viewpoint now that people want to deport every single person who is non-American, right? Like any person, if like you're an illegal immigrant, it doesn't matter if you're like a grandma, they want to get rid of you. It is a mainstream opinion now that transgender is not a legit thing and it should not be near kids. This is a mainstream opinion. Now, you might not want it to be a mainstream opinion, but it is one. And so if they don't follow along with that, then they're going against the tide. And at the end of the day, they're a platform. They can't control what people think. They can try, but they can't really.
Well, and my thing is, I don't think people are thinking that transgender is in of it itself fake. I think it's more keep it away from the kids to an extent. Like, don't force children into it. Like, actually allow kids to be freaking kids. You know? It's one thing if there's actual, like, gender dysphoria. And the kid genuinely feels like they're this or that. The difference is when the little boy just happens to like Barbies, and then the teacher says, well, you're a girl now because you like Barbies. No. I am as dude gets, and guess what? When I was very little, I let girls paint my fingernails. I would fight them over the dress. the pretty pink dress in like preschool and shit. Right? And I am a straight male. So there is no reason to be sitting there looking at kids who by our own admission that we know scientifically and medically are not developed enough, that their brains have not developed enough to make even most basic critical decisions in terms of being able to do things like joining the military, or we would not even let them remotely near cigarettes or alcohol or anything like that. But we're going to let them near potentially life-altering permanent medical treatments. Right? Like, I think that's what people are having a problem with. If you identify as a woman, I don't think anybody really is going to have a problem with you over that. I don't. I have a lot of transgender friends. I do not care one bit about what they identify as. I will still call them by the pronouns that they request. Actually, most of the time, I don't even use pronouns. I just say hi. Right? I just call them by their name. Plain and simple. I call them by the name they give me, and that's it. I have zero problem. As far as I'm concerned, they should be able to go to work, get married, do all that stuff. Have the life, liberty, and happiness and pursuit thereof all to their heart's content. Because that's what the United States is supposed to be about. I'm probably going to end the video here, by the way. I'm sure he's
going to probably be defending his nomination for Secretary of Defense on the Senate
Thank
floor.
You for the 5 gifted.
And I think one of the points that he's made is that he thinks that women shouldn't be able to be in certain combat roles. And until we updated our policies,
and this also, I think, is a majority opinion too. If you were to...
Yeah, this just seems like it's just going to delve more and more into the political side of things. And like I said, I just don't care about that. I genuinely don't. But like I said, as far as I'm concerned, so that's probably going to be the end of this reaction here, because I'm just at the point of like, okay, this is getting a little bit more on the actual uncomfortable side to an extent. Right? But I'm going to say that, yeah, I do hope that censorship does start getting curtailed as much as reasonably possible. Do I think we should go back to the absolute Wild West? No. Let's not go all the way back to Call of Duty, early Halo lobby, shall we please? Right? Let's be civil, but we shouldn't be having corporations that are unelected tell us what we can and cannot discuss. And more importantly to me, the reason why I feel that is because the second we give them an inch, they'll run with it for a mile. That's always been the case. You give these kind of companies an inch, they'll run with it for a mile. And I guarantee you that they're not doing this just because they don't want hate speech or they don't want this or that. They're doing it because they figure it's a great way to mask being able to play nepotism with their buddies for pay, right? That's where I'm on that topic. Okay? Do I think that people should be able to scream racial slurs all over the internet? No! Absolutely not. Any more than you would literally be doing that in the middle of frickin' Walmart. Or Target, or some public store. Right? No. And if you did that in those stores, they would escort you out. Is there anything preventing you from having general discussion about certain matters? No. But then again, it is what it is, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Shadows fade and ghosts retreat. In the calm of night we meet. Monsters lurking in the mind. Leave the fear and peace you'll find. Creeping whispers now are still. In the silence feel the thrill. Horror fades with morning light. Time to rest and feel alright. Isaac and friends, we've braved the scares. Through the haunt and chilling days. Hit subscribe and join the ride. In this dark we do confide. Echoes fade like distant roar. Tomorrow's fear will bring much more. Join us next time on this quest, where the shadows never rest of life. Creeping whispers now are still. In the silence feel the thrill. Horror fades with morning light. Time to rest and feel alright. Isaac and friends, we've braved the scares. Through the haunt and chilling days. Hit subscribe and join the ride. In this dark we do confide.